In our milestone 60th episode, we launched a mini-series of questions and answers. Let's first recall who is actually asking the questions, representing coaches, amateurs, and absolute beginners.
I'm the one asking, and not just for myself, but also for coaches from smaller clubs, beginning trainers, or even parents who help out. Your Volleyball Academy series is excellently prepared and highly professional, but it mainly targets more experienced coaches. However, down here where volleyball is just beginning, the questions are a little different, and those are the ones I'd like to bring into this series.
And I'm adding questions that might sound a bit basic, maybe even trivial, but for people who are drawn to volleyball, have never played or trained it, and want to start, these answers are important.
Great, welcome back both of you. So what's the topic of today's episode?
I'd like to take a look at overhead setting. For example, what's the difference between a front set and a back set? And I'm also curious about when and how to start with specialized setter training.
Well, I'm more interested in general stuff, like, can you train volleyball by yourself? And if so, how?
Excellent. We've got our first.
Zeg je date mij af, want wat ik je aankomende donderdag om 7 uur laat zien, verandert je leven voorgoed. Donderdagavond om 7 uur.
We've got our first questions on the table. Let's dive in. Let's start with Matthews, whether someone can train alone. The answer is yes, but only for certain parts of training. For example, if I want to work on my attacking hit and I have access to a wall, I can manage without a partner. But rather than explaining, let's look at a few concrete exercises. Take the attacking hit, for instance. The foundation is simple throwing. Even an 8-year-old can do it, a 13-year-old girl at a low net, or even a 16-year-old national player returns to it. See, Matthew, so far no one else is needed. Just like for 10-year-olds who are starting to learn overhead serving, you can still train alone. And that's not all. You can also train your spiking approach by yourself, shown here by both an old familiar 8-year-old champ and a boy who already knows what he's doing.
And what about the toss for a jump serve?
Also solo, hitting after your own toss. Tough, sure, but again, no teammate needed. And now we're into float and jump serving. And of course, service is always trained alone. You can experiment with different spins, side rotation, all kinds of hand magic, even behind your house, and that will help your serve. So Matthew, getting the idea?
I admit, it was a lot at once, but I'm surprised how much I can actually do on my own to improve my volleyball.
And now back to Martina's question. She asked what the difference is between a front set and a back set. For beginners or those who don't play as setters, the difference between setting forward and backward isn't huge. Both come from a simple overhead contact. To compare, we have two identical drills, differing only in the direction of the set. One goes forward, the other backward over the head. However, when you need to set backwards, hands alone are no longer enough. You need to engage your back and torso more, arch your spine more, and use a greater range in your shoulder joints. One thing doesn't change. The main work is still done by the thumbs and index fingers. They're the ones that lead the set both forward and backward. But we're not talking about setter gameplay yet, where deception is key. That's another story. We'll get to that another time.
We've talked a bit about finger action. How about we now look at the bump?
Of course, where shall we start?
Well, I must admit I know absolutely nothing about learning the bump. I just know what it is, because I often watch volleyball on TV. But how do you actually learn it?
Learning the bump has two basic parts. One is about the feet, what they do and how they're positioned. The other is about the arms, how to set them properly, and what the torso does. And you know what? It doesn't really matter where we start. Let's say we start from the ground up, from the feet.
I remember that they used to say one foot should be forward in the starting position.
Yes, they used to say that. But in terms of stability, and especially lateral movement, which happens more often in real play than you'd think, it's better to have the feet side by side. The weight is on the balls of the feet, knees pressing forward, almost past the toes. This posture allows the player to push off the ground and move in any direction without delay or hesitation. In a parallel stance, meaning feet side by side, the body's weight is evenly distributed, with the center of gravity right between the feet. This forms a base that anchors the player like an anchor. When a hard serve comes, they won't lose balance. The parallel stance allows both legs to engage evenly during movement and contact with the ball. During serve reception, the player must be ready for quick movement in all directions: backward, forward, sideways. The parallel stance again, feet side by side, offers a neutral starting point. No foot is locked, both are ready to move anyway. It also makes side and crossover steps easier without risking loss of balance.
I know you coaches put special emphasis on 2 ways the legs should act during serve reception. I'm a bit worried whether those you're speaking to really understand it. Sorry to say, could we go over it in simpler terms?
Of course, just to clarify, I'm not talking about the free ball. That's a slow, floating ball. We're dealing with a fast float serve. In that case, the player has only a fraction of a second and barely any room for major footwork. They can only make small adjustments, and that's exactly what I'm referring to. Either the ball flies low to the side and the player tries to shift their weight into its path and adjust the arms, or the ball comes high toward the chest or head, and the player moves away slightly, stepping 1 foot back to make room for the arms. But enough talking, let me show you in practice. First, we simulate the movement. First case, shifting the weight to the ball and adjusting the arms. Now the second, stepping away from the ball, stepping back with one leg and creating space for the arms. And now again, with a small aid, ball flying low beside the body, like this, or coming toward the head. That's this case. Now come more and more drills to practice these 2 movement patterns Martina asked about. Once again, these drills train the scenarios where the ball flies quickly low beside the body, and these ones prepare players for balls flying directly at the head. The result is that our 13-year-old boys can handle both footwork patterns and are ready to apply them in the game. Only the match will reveal how solid those habits really are.
You talk about this stuff in a pretty complex and intellectual way, at least for me. So I hope you won't laugh at my simple closing question. What's more important in volleyball, talent or training?
That's not funny at all. That question is asked even by top-level experts, not just people like you. Elite volleyball requires both talent and training. But we now know that we used to put too much emphasis on skills and not enough on passion. And yet passion is also part of talent. Being able to endure hard work, get through failure, get up after a fall, and love your game, that's a bigger trump card than any natural gift. That's all for today. Take care.